Hello again. Welcome to John Programs Games. This is the Handelabra Games Sentinel Steam Workshop dev stream. We are going to carry on with getting things ready for Steam Workshop. So if you've been following along, we've been working on sort of the last major functional piece, which is having heroes from the box working with guys, Representative Earth, and Oblivion. Sort of the last, I guess, piece of like engine functionality that needs to work. And so I have been working on that off and on, and I got it into unit testing, where we're going to try to actually finish it today, hopefully, and get it to work how we want. To help me, I have a can of coffee from Singapore, all the way around the world. We'll see if it will power me up in the right way. And sweet. Kind of wanted a sweet one, so. All right. So I've made unit tests, and we're going to get them to work. So I just made a change that fixes, well, it did fix things, and then I broke things again. So there's that. That's a common thing, but that's why we have unit tests. Basically, what I need to do is have this mod helper function be able to take in qualified card identifiers or non-qualified, because you can have a promo, a variant from another mod, so you get qualified for both of these things. So we're going to try to deal with that. So the card identifier might be qualified, basically. So we need to get that out. So what I was thinking of is putting something up here that just like splits them up. So qualified deck identifier. So and deck namespace. Handle either qualified or non-qualified identifiers coming in. So basically, after this code, we're going to have a qualified deck identifier that will definitely be either qualified or null if it's not. And the same thing for the card identifier. Yeah, we basically take it in, and then basically at this point card identifier guaranteed to be non-qualified. And if available, we have qualified versions and their namespaces. Okay. So, so now we can actually just build out everything. So if deck namespace and card namespace, it's literally just this. Use this assemblies namespace. Whatever namespace, deck identifier, card identifier. Perfect. And otherwise, if card namespace is null, it's this other previous case. Right, I guess that's just that. Yeah, that's fine. Use the given deck namespace. I guess we can just pass the qualified deck identifier to here, right? Just curious how much we're gonna like. Duplicate stuff. We can always go back. Let's do this. If deck namespace is null, this case would be like a core game deck. So we have to use the cards namespace, I think. And otherwise, everything qualified. I think we use the card namespace. That's like for a cross mod thing. We might not need this part now. let's just do some. Make sure like I can actually break normal mod loading. So that's happy. That fails. Okay. Let's just go to our like basic thing. So we're setting up a game. And we fail. Like right there. In the setup game. So what are we failing on? Workshop test a dot. Well, that's not something we should be getting into there. Seems wrong. Hi, Jake. Yeah, we're into the weeds today, so hopefully. That card identifier doesn't make any sense. Is that because of this change? I wonder if let's just uncomment this very noisy log. Creating controller for angry taxpayer character with that definition. Yeah, maybe we need. I wonder if this. Right, yeah, this shouldn't be. This logic is wrong. It's returning this, which is wrong for non-promos. That's just what's going on there. Okay, that's happy now. Super noisy. Messages. All right, that test is happy. Basic representative of Earth. Happy. Representative of Earth with a variant. Happy. Representative of Earth with a variant of the core hero. Happy. Representative with a variant from another mod. Happy. What? Are we saying this is all working? So actually this extra code here that I was like, check for a promo, that is working, because this code here is now checking those promos by basically this logic. So you notice that these are all sort of the same. Let's just run the other tests. Guys happy? Guys is happy. What? Did I just make everything work? It's a good start. Oblivion's not happy. Okay. Just make sure like regular Oblivion is happy. That would be problematic if it's not. And maybe regular completionist guys. Looks to be okay though. Battle zone test error. That's probably a flaky test. Maybe we'll take a minute and fix some flaky tests while we're in here. Since that might be a useful thing for you to see as well. How do you fix some flaky tests? I'll just run the guys tests and see if we're good here. Yeah, okay, so cool. So what I can do is basically we're always using deck identifier and card identifier. It's just like what namespace are we using, right? So we can actually put like, do this. And then this is gonna just come down here. Same logic, less duplication. Check to see what namespace we should be using. Okay, so use the given deck name. Right, so here we want to do space is this. And then in both other cases, we use the card namespace. Like basically. This. But we can collapse those because they're the same, right? Cool. We can probably just check, like if it's not matching this assembly, like don't try to load the type, like, but we can make that optimization later. once we get it all working. Okay, cool. Okay, so Oblivion is not working. Where are we failing here? This test has a lot going on, so let's just run only that. It says... Right, so after saving and loading, we have the wrong promo. And that's happening not in the first game, so maybe we'll split this test up. I split up the other test because it's easier to narrow in on something going wrong if your test is shorter. Like here, we're doing a lot in one test. It's like we could end this test like here, and then just sort of do the other. Like we don't need to, unless it's important about like the sequence of things here. We can just like do this sort of thing. So we do that. And we can like maybe make sure everything. I mean, save and load automatically does some checks to make sure that things are the same. But we can have test Oblivion. Should be green. Yeah, so this next test is going to be yeah, we don't have angry tax. This is replacing the angry taxpayer, right? So we can actually start the game with that character for the second test. So we call this like test Oblivion replace mod hero. Like split up these tests so we can focus in on, and if it starts working we can be like, well, something had to do with so here we destroy bunker. Actually this doesn't have to be the mod there, but it doesn't really, does it? This is actually testing with variant of, what did I call it? Variant of core. And this would be variant. We'll bring this set up here. This is variant replace with variant from other mod. Okay, there's some different cases, and maybe I screwed them up, but we'll take a look. Okay, so Oblivion replace variant is failing. Okay, replace variant from other mod. It's also failing. Variant of core is passing. Okay. So Variant of Core destroys Bunker and puts in that Darkest Legacy character. And that seems to work fine. But this one, which is replacing the Angry Taxpayer with his own variant, is not fine. So what's happening here? And the error we're getting is that after saving and loading, the game changed. So something didn't get saved properly. Yeah, we're getting a error here when we're loading the game. So let us see. So the initial thing works, right? We can, maybe we'll add this type of check too. Make sure that our character card has the right promo identifier. Yep. And maybe we don't need this log that's like super noisy right now. Just to see what's going on here. Okay, so let's get back to our test. Okay, so we select Happy Taxpayer character from the box. Angry Taxpayer is replaced with Happy Taxpayer. Then it's like, do you want to switch battle zones? Sure. And then it saves. So it does everything there happens right. But then when we try to load the game, all right, we are looking for Angry Taxpayer. Oh, and none of this is qualified. These need to be qualified. So something is not saving, and that's probably Oblivion is not saving the qualified identifier correctly. So replace turn taker action. These probably need to be qualified. Yeah, these card properties most likely need to be qualified. I think we use them in other places. Like here where Guys is storing it. Yeah, okay, so anywhere we're doing this, actually, we need to use qualified identifiers. I guess if there's a variant somehow of Captain Cosmic, that maybe there would need to be I mean, Captain Cosmic is just Captain Cosmic, right? He doesn't need to worry about being qualified. But Oblivion does. Missions enter play, record the original turn taker. Right, so this definitely needs to be qualified. card identifier does. Why don't we have qualified identifier here? I guess card needs it too. There could be, I suppose, variant mission cards and stuff, right? Or that's a thing we want to do sometimes. So right now that's not going to do anything, but it could. Yeah, replace turn taker action needs to use qualified identifiers too. Just need to use qualified promo identifier or identifier. This needs to also use qualified identifiers. Okay. These selected ones are qualified. And yeah, this, when it's looking them up, it is assuming they're going to be qualified. All right. Does that solve it for us? It does, in fact. Cool. All right, and let's just make sure this one works too. Well, we can test it. I just want to add the extra little line here too. To make sure it is picking up the right one. Here. Cool. So actually everything is working in the unit tests. So that makes me happy. Look at that, all green, including our little, well, there's an optimization here we're thinking of, right? But basically, like, if only bother looking type if it's this assembly's namespace. Is that valid? Is that gonna break everything? Because I think, like, we're going over all the assemblies, right? And basically, like, if we... Maybe we don't actually have to go over all the assemblies. We can just... No, but if nothing is qualified, we do have to look in all the assemblies, basically. That's the thing. Because this method can be passed in non-qualified stuff, I believe, still. That's why we need to loop over. But we can just, like, not call get type. It's probably not that expensive, but no need to call it up. We could just do a quick check here. Yeah, and that doesn't cause any problems. So that seems good. Let's run all the tests and make sure I didn't break the world. So let's just rebuild. I shouldn't break the world, but you know, I did change some stuff in other areas that are unrelated to mods, and so we gotta you gotta check. So I'm gonna take a quick break while these all run. If this, it's gonna run them. Alright, be right back. Applied numerology, that is like the flaky test that I see every time. So I'm going to actually fix that today. As an aside, we're going to fix that test because that must be one of the flakiest tests. I'm going to pull up our back end, our continuous integration, and you can see. So Sentinels unit test, there's usually a little button where you can see show me the flaky tests. They've changed this around. More flaky tests. Ooh, fancy. Applied numerology, flip rate 44%, and locus, well, fix both of them. Basically, like, if you run the code twice and you get different results, then that's a flaky test. So I'm going to fix those. Looks like things are mostly good, though. We got another, this is probably a flaky one here. This one is literally testing the RNG, and obviously it's not going to pass. I'm actually going to just like add a thing so it won't run this test on my computer where it's not going to work for sure. But let's just make sure everything goes. Yeah. So that is cool. I am pretty happy with that. So we basically just added more qualified identifiers into there, added a property for qualified identifier there. This, yeah, just making sure this doesn't return garbage. This now takes qualified or non-qualified identifiers for both parameters, and it deals with that. And this is just a log I can undo. And yeah, this is now passing in. This was an issue with Celestial Tribunal where it was passing in the wrong turn taker identifier, and this is just updating my tests. So cool. So yeah, improvements to, or basically fix issues with mod characters from the box in various situations. Yeah, so I want to ignore this test. And I believe you can put a little thing like this and it will ignore it. So what I can do is basically say hashtag if macOS else. We'll just say it's a test, but we're going to ignore it because system.random is not serializable on Mac. And then this test is not going to like fail on me. It's just going to be marked as ignored when I run it and not be read in my ledger. Right? Maybe if I click it directly, it's going to run it even if it's ignored. But if I run like the parent, it's ignored. Yeah. It shows as green here, which is weird. It should be ignored. Weird. I mean, I could literally ignore it like this. And then it won't appear. I mean, I might have gotten the thing where it didn't build. That's possible. I'm fine to just like totally ignore that. So yeah, so let's, I'm just going to ignore test, RNG test on Mac. Before we go, so the proof of this all working is going to be in the pudding, as they say, in the UI. So I want to make sure that these also work in the UI. But let's fix that. Let's fix at least applied numerology, maybe the end locus, because why not? Test applied numerology. So I'll show you how we look at flaky tests, because this is something that will come up for you too when you're doing unit testing. So this should be under heroes, the Harpy test applied numerology. So you might run your test like 20 times and it passes, or you might run it like I run it there and I run it again and it's gonna pass, or maybe it's gonna fail differently. No, it's failing every time, but it's a different problem every time. And so what I will usually do is put a loop here, and like temporary loop, and put the whole test inside of it. Firstly, there's no like button to like run this test 100 times, but you can do this and then it'll stop when it fails, and you can get the random seed out of the one that failed. So if I run this, and it didn't rebuild. That's why it's not, well, it didn't matter if it rebuilt or not. I'm gonna just quit and restart because of that rebuild thing. That seemed to solve it last time. I think we have tried to fix this test being flaky, but it maybe can be flaky in more ways than one. Let's go back to heroes, the Harpy, applied numerology. Yeah, so it's building there now. So it's going to try to run the test 100 times. And maybe it works a few times, maybe it doesn't. So it failed the first time, but it always prints out the random seed. So you can copy that random seed and pass it into, whether you have a new game. We often have like a new game helper function for a test, because it's like it's always testing the harpy, so the harpy's always in it or whatever. But you can always pass a random seed to the game constructor, so that you can always have this problem happen repeatedly until you're satisfied. Then you take the random seed away. It's preferable to not have a random seed, because that's going to stress test your code better in general over time. So I recommend that. So we've got Citizen Dawn making the harpy discard all their cards, so that's probably not a good idea. What's this test supposed to do? Remove villain triggers. I'm not sure what's happening. So first time each hero target will be dealt damage. When does this actually fail? Line. I don't know why double clicking doesn't go to the right line. Line 758. So after we play Tenuous Focus, it's this test has too much in it. Like, this test should be split up into separate things. That's one of the reasons why it's flaky, is because it does too much. I think, like, these things could be in separate tests and not be all in one test. There are several other tests for applied numerology, but like, this is a lot in one test. It's not documented well, unfortunately. So we're reducing the damage. That's fine. We're playing Ancient Tome. We're playing Citizen Spring as like a target to hit, I guess. We're using the Harpy's power on our character card to deal damage. And yeah, we're using... There's so much happening in this test. Tenuous Focus, like, plays cards off the top of your deck, right? Or reveals. Reveal the top card of your deck, either play it or discard it. So what do we expect to happen here? We're planning to discard it to flip a token. But it reveals applied numerology. We're like assuming that it's going to be something else, and then it's not, I think. Ugh, I wish this test had more comments about what it was trying to do. Okay. So here is where, like, there's nothing, there's the Ancient Tome is in play. And we're stacking our deck. Ancient Tome. Reveal cards on top of your deck until 2 ongoing cards are in play. It's not specifying which thing we're choosing, though. What thing are we choosing to change? It says defaulting. Yeah, that's what this warning is. It's automatically choosing it. So let's describe what we're doing. For the character card, we are reduce the damage by 1. That's what's happening. Put 3 ongoing cards on top of the deck. We're going to use this. And we're going to say, what was the default that it did? Increase by 1. Is it? All right, 2. Reveal 3 ongoing cards instead of 2. Okay. Put 1 into your hand. Choose bequest to go into hand. Play bequest. I think that's what's happening. Our tokens should be the same. They should be, well, the same as the start of the game. So let's run. There's no change. Shouldn't be no change here. It's just not going to warn about it. I'm still trying to figure out, like, what are we doing in this test? Right. It should be 2 ongoing cards revealed is the actual thing that it's looking for. All right. So we actually, when we have long types like tests like this, we can do print separator to help look at the output. Ancient Tome. Number of ongoing cards. Number of Arcana tokens. So test. And what does this do? If there are, check if there are 2 or more instead of 3. Oh wait, this is actually not This is testing tenuous focus. But how is it? No. We play the card. Tenuous focus does use a power, right? Oh, it does use a power. Does it? No. What are we doing here? Like, tenuous focus isn't affected by applied numerology. Is that what this is testing? Why are we playing tenuous focus? Just to change the number of tokens? Like, is that literally what this is doing? And that's causing flakiness because it's revealing random cards that cause the test to change. Like, no, don't do that. Like, that's what this part is testing, right? Two Arcana tokens instead of 3. And yeah, there's no reason to play tenuous focus here except to change the number of tokens and screw everything up. Change number of tokens. Like, you can just do that. You can just change the tokens. Harpy probably has a special method for that. Maybe not. In any case, playing a card that, like, plays a random card is not a good way to do it. Let us not play tenuous focus. Delete. And then we put Bequest is in play. I don't know why we have Conjured Aura. I guess we end up with 2. Put 2 ongoing cards on top. Sure, that's fine. Okay. All right, we pass now because we're not doing tenuous focus for no reason. So let's remove this random seed and see if we still have flakiness. Generally, I feel if it runs 100 times without failing, it's probably good. And it did. Let's run it once more just to assuage my mind. That's good. Okay, then we just like delete the for loop. So if you want to change your tokens for a test, don't do it by playing a card that plays random cards. Suggestion. Is that like used in... Yeah, it's used in tenuous focus now only. Yeah, test that card there. That's fine. And have your test control for it. But don't throw that in somewhere else just for that. Fix Blakey test. All right, the other one was test Aeon Locus, and Oblivion has been the source of a lot of flaky tests, mainly because for some reason the Ceaseless Ruin was chosen as a very common test shield. The problem is the Ceaseless Ruin plays an environment card at the start of the game, and that can cause everything to go sideways. So that's not usually a good idea. So let's find this test, and usually just changing it from using the Ceaseless Ruin does the job. Let's see what's failing here. We can actually go here and like find the random seed that failed, because it's recorded here. All right, so what is this test doing? Just testing Aeon Locus's behavior generally. So we're failing at line 751, so towards the end where so we're assuming things about their HP, but I think something is stopping that. That might be a card that Oblivion played or something. Let's see what's happening here. We just play Locuses and they are there. We move Oblivion. Then there's 3 Aeon Men there. We go to the end of the Scion turn. And we're checking to see that... Oh. So it played another Aeon Locus, right? We didn't like control the top of the Aeon Men deck, so it played another Aeon Locus, so it regained 2 hit points instead. So we need to stack the deck. Stack the Aeon Men deck so another Locus isn't played and heals too much. That probably will do it. Maybe. Oh, I see. It's that there's another. It's that there was another Aeon Locus below. um, so I think I can pass an index to this. Two locuses. This is where we go to the end phase. There's 3 Aeon Men in play, that's fine. Aeon Warrior does damage. Aeon Locus heals everyone and plays the top. I guess there are 2 Aeon Locuses in play right now. We play Locus 1. Wonder if this. Let's run this again. Without that. So what is happening? We go to the start of turn sign 1. We play Aeon Locus into the first battle zone. It's there. We move Oblivion. Then we move an Aeon Locus. We just stack the deck basically. We heal everything. Just make sure that Oblivion didn't like kill something that he wasn't supposed to. I mean, it probably would have had a test error earlier. We go to the end phase. And Warrior is there dealing damage. And Locus heals himself. Yeah, and then Aeon Locus plays another Aeon Locus that we didn't expect to be there. Which caused the extra healing. So, are there Aeon Men at the beginning of the game? There is because of the end of Oblivion's turn, right? Let's just like get rid of them all. Destroy. Is there like a destroy cards? All the Aeon Men. I don't think that super affects this. We have one Aeon Locus in the play area. And let's also get a yeah, and put Aeon Warrior underneath. So another Locust doesn't come out too. We're gonna move the Warrior first, and then the Locust too. And I think this is going to fail because we did destroy the Aeon Men. But if there were other Aeon Locuses, then everything would get screwed up, right? So we just need to play more. It's going to fail here and say there aren't enough. Play some other Aeon Men for Locusts to heal. Play card. What's the little one? Aeon Thrall. And actually we want... Yeah, this is actually... Yeah, it's assuming that we play... This plays the other Locust, which then heals the first Locust and doesn't play a card. Like, that's what this is doing, it's just not explaining it. I mean, it's mentioning here, but... Should probably say it up higher. All right, success. So let's try running it a bunch of times. And not by clicking. By doing this. All right, ran it 100 times and it's okay. So seems good. Let's get rid of the loop. We'll say fix flaky test. And well, I'm going to push that up. And I'm going to run all the tests here again and be right back. No failures yet. It's nice. This is the build server here. Cool. So there still exist flaky tests, but those are the two main ones that have been, you know, I'll submit my code and get an error about this test that's unrelated. Test filter heist. Well, I'm not gonna fix every flaky test today. Inevitable destruction is an issue. Maybe I'll fix 1 or 2 a week until we get to 0. It's a side project. Okay, so what we're gonna do is show me ignored or inconclusive. Inconclusive is like if there was an exception with loading games, which I don't deal with on my Mac here, but they run okay on the server. So yeah, we're going to I have a command line script that updates the engine as well. Projects, Git, Sentinels, UI, scripts, build engine. Two failed tests, unrelated to what I was doing, and if I run them again, they will probably succeed. Yeah. All right, that is your definition of a flaky test, but hopefully we'll get to those at some point. So update the DLL. Let's go back into Unity and check all of these things and see if our tests were sufficiently good and our fixes were sufficiently good. There might be some UI things we need to adjust, so I'm hopeful though. All right, so let's get our checklist here. So I'm just gonna push that back because we could add more testing for villains, but we're gonna focus on the heroes here. All right, so maybe I'll just uncheck these since I made enough changes that cause problems. So Representative Earth, let's do that first. So, okay, so for my debug settings, we have Social Tribunal, we're going there, we have the deck stacked. And just make sure we have our mods in place. Mods. Yeah. Okay. So I think I don't even want. Whoa, that was weird. Let's see what the setup is here anyways. We're not continuing, we're just playing. And we don't need music. I guess we can check like basic stuff. Right, so we've got all of our mod decks here. We could pick a mod core character. There's still that visual glitch. We could maybe look at fixing that. And let's do a rewind to Baron Blade, play a card, and it's still there, and it's the right card. Cool. Okay, so that is choose a mod character. Let's try choose a mod character variant. So Cipher swarming protocol seems okay. Let's rewind. Right, there's that issue where the placeholder like appears. When you load the game. Okay. So that's weird, but we'll get to that in a second. I just want to make sure the functionality works for these other things. Choose a mod variant of a regular deck. So we can get our classic Wayward Bunker here. Or there's one of Ridgewan's as well. So that was working, but the issue was when you loaded the game, it wasn't working. And that is working. Except for the weird cutout thing. Okay. Choosing a mod variant of a mod deck. So that would be like the cricket one, which we can pick up here. In the last test for Tribunal, cricket, noisy cricket. That seems to work initially, and if we load it, it's also there. Success. All right, so let's look at this weird placeholder bug while we're in here, because so let's choose. If we choose continue game, it should probably appear from here as well. We can see why it's trying to load a placeholder for Celestial Tribunal. There's errors. Could not find a mod with namespace Cauldron. Okay, I think that's... Is this... Turn taker cricket should be... Yeah, and then turn taker Celestial Tribunal is trying to make a cutout for the environment, which should not ever happen. Which we can... I don't know why... This must have been a change that we made to make it like... Oh yeah, the environment does have cutouts in the phone version, but it's different. It's not character card based. When are we creating... I must have changed this to be more permissive, and then it's like getting too many. So we'll say like also where it's not next to a card. think that's probably okay. Otherwise, character cards live in their own play areas. I guess there's also Kismet, right? I guess this was always probably happening, but there was no such thing as placeholders, so it was just like making a cutout with nothing. That's probably what was the case, actually. This probably was always happening, but just there was never anything there. That's interesting. But with mods, it's like, oh, now we have placeholder art, so it like tries to show it. So it's probably also trying to show this for the talisman. I wonder if I could say if the card comes from this deck, right? Owner C.parent deck. That belongs to this. Like if it's a cutout that doesn't belong in that play area, or a character card that doesn't belong in that play area, I don't want to put a cutout for it, basically. I think that should actually do it a little better. Then we don't need to worry about the talisman, or if people make character cards like the talisman. It doesn't cause weird things. Yeah, I think that sorts it. So, all right. So we're updating the DLL. And we're fix issue with showing cutouts for character cards. Character cards in other play areas. Cool. So that fixes that. So Representative Earth, done. Done. Completionist guys. I guess I had said they all worked, but we should make sure that everything does still work. So let's go to my debug settings. We're going to go to guys' turn, and we're going to test out. I'm just going to like test these all out again. Alright, so variant of a mod hero within the mod. That worked. And we can rewind as well. So now this should be the, yeah, social distance. It is interesting. It's not replacing the, I wonder if this is a new thing or not. Let's rewind to, well, I need to like, oh right, deal 30 damage. That's my power. If I rewind to draw a card, it still is right. And the guy still has the right card under him. Yeah, okay. Alright, so that's good. Right, and loading the game. Mod variant of a regular hero. Jake asked, do instruction cards do this too? Yeah, instruction cards can have cutouts. Oh, right. So I guess if you don't want them to have a placeholder cutout show up, you need to put an empty graphic for the cutouts. because basically the game's going to try to find art, and if it's there, it'll show it. If it's not, it'll use a placeholder. We could probably have a property that's like, don't ever show a placeholder. Like we were planning the properties to like choose which placeholder, so that could also include like, don't ever show a placeholder. Yeah, so that the Sentinels and NEAD, they probably just like, it is set to, if you look at the code there, it was finding all cards, including cards that aren't real. I'm trying to think if is there a reason for that. Is there a character card that has a cutout that isn't a real card? I'm not sure, actually. That might not be the case. But you might want that to be the case, I guess, right? So let's pick Wayward Bunker. Use the power on bunker. There's Wayward Bunker. There's regular bunker. Let's rewind, make sure Wayward Bunker is still here. Bunker is still there. Excellent. So that's that case. In that case, and then mod variant of other mod hero. Just make sure that is also still working. Yeah, the Sentinel setup card is not a real card. Neither is the NEAD instructions card. Okay, we're going to do this on Cricket with Noisy Cricket from the other mod. And that is correct. Use the power. And we're going to rewind, make sure that the game loads right. We got Noisy Cricket there, and we got Cricket here, but it's not showing the title for some reason, but that's not a huge deal with the placeholders. Okay, so Collegious Guys. And this was what I just did. Yeah. Cool. Okay, and awesome. So Oblivion. Oblivion is next. So actually, maybe I'll add to this. Choose which image, choose which color, choose to never show a placeholder for this card. Potentially. We had one test fail here. Just going back to this, and it's a flaky test. So, but yeah, those are fixed. Can I like mark them? Fixed. Just so they don't show up. Fixed. Cool. So that's good for now. We can revisit those later, maybe. So Oblivion. I don't want to set up an Oblivion thing in here. Let's just set up a new. Let's just go and make a new game of Oblivion and get killed. Oblivion mode, random, we've got a mod character here, even a mod environment. And let's grab another hero. Bring forth. Deal less damage, Oblivion, I dare you. Well, he's sending us... Actually, that's good, because we can get Arc of Unreality to go off and hit us for a lot of damage. I just want to get beat up. I don't know what this environment does, where we're going to play cards. I'm going to shoot myself. Welcome to testing Oblivion. When testing, like, oftentimes I'll, like, especially earlier on in development, I would be testing, trying to finish the game faster. Sure, something. Do things. I don't know what's happening. I assume things will happen. Sure. Give me the Shadow Cloak. I don't want to prevent damage. Let's hit Parse. Parse can't heal. I don't want to prevent damage. I want to take more damage. I want to Hawk of Battle and hit Parse. Sorry, Parse. You happen to be the first hero, so you're getting the bulk of the attack. And we're going to summon Staff and throw it at Parse. All right. Post end of turn. Oblivion. Okay. Checklist. Mod hero. Mod hero variant. Same mod. Variant of core hero from mod. Variant of mod hero from other mod. Those are the 4 cases. So we are seeing no mod content listed here. So that's problem number 1. Okay. And actually, I think that's because in the UI code, it says don't allow this for Oblivion. I'm just going to go into game view now. Isn't super safe, actually, because I have other mods. So we'll stay in this splash screen to get all the mods loaded in. Yeah. Box. From the box. I believe I have code in here that says not if it's in Oblivion. It's actually not just allowed in weekly one-shots, period. That's it. Multiplayer is now allowed. And that's the only place. It's just that one spot where we're allowed to put mods. Yeah, it was just that one spot, I think. Okay. Let's do that. Continue game. All right, here we have mod stuff. So many decks. Okay. Let's get Migrant Coder. There's our variants. Cool. We could also check to see if we choose Cricket, we get Noisy Cricket and all the other variants, so that's nice. Let's grab Migrant Coder and just the regular version. Null reference. So this, I believe, is just coming from that animation. It's not like this is working, right? The animation has errors, so let's see what's going on with that. In the animation, right, we are not using qualified identifiers where we should be. The character identifier should be the qualified promo identifier or identifier. And we should be using turn taker qualified identifier here. That should be qualified. Actually, yeah, this is interesting because the card definition identifier, basically Oblivion has lines for heroes, and I think actually this should stay the way it is, because we're like Oblivion's not going to have lines for mod heroes. He'll just use his default line unless it's a mod of an existing hero, and that's okay. All right, and then obviously we might have promo like mod scions or whatever, but we don't have those right now. This is just for the heroes, so that should fix that animation issue. We will see. Whew. It's nice to have things working. It's been like over a month looking at this thing. Not like I only work 1 day a week on this, but it just happens over a longer period of time, right? Okay, so Migrant Coder. Click. Yay! Even got the placeholder. And if we actually put in an Oblivion line, it would probably show up there. So that's good. And let's say no. And we're going to do a rewind just to make sure that loads properly. Looks so. There's Migrant Coder, Migrant Coder's deck. Looks great. Let's go back to post end of turn. Okay, so mod hero. Now let's grab a mod hero variant from the same mod. Sure, why not? Baccarat, Ace of Swords. The end has come. Let me show you a card trick. Nice. I like that. Okay, that looks good. That is great. Just say that to Oblivion. I don't know if that's actually in the deck list specifically to Oblivion or not. That would be funny. We're going to load a game. Looks like it's loading okay. Yep. Okay. That covers that. Now we want a core hero. His generic line, but it fits for Oblivion. So we want Bunker. Wayward Bunker. Come on. Not Sanction. My terrible placeholder. You can't tell me what to do. That looks like a Wayward Bunker. And we're going to test a load. That looks like a Wayward Bunker, but we'll double check. Cool. And now the cross mod variant special. So we want Cricket and Noisy Cricket. Got this pop up, that's good. And there's our Noisy Cricket. Let's try and undo. Go. I am satisfied. There's still things that might not work right, like the end of game stuff for Oblivion is special and things, but those are things that are not as critical at this moment because I feel like the playability is the main thing, and we'll get to those things. I'm not gonna like play through an Oblivion game right now to check that. Awesome. So that is a big piece that was one of the last sort of main game functionality items to deal with. So, and it's only not even 4 o'clock. Look at that. So, okay, what next? We could make unit tests for villains, but I'm not super worried about that right now. We could look at this bug that was reported. Oh, and also documentation. There's an update coming out probably today after the stream. That Jean-Marc and I were like just doing the final editing and stuff on, but it's not totally finished with a lot more stuff. So I'll check with Jean-Marc after the stream and we'll get that published out, and I'll post that in the Discord and stuff. So that's going to be out today with more stuff. And that will be pretty much the end of the overview stuff, and we'll be getting into documenting the code functions directly. So when you want to use one of the helpers, it will like pop up like, what does this parameter mean, and all that stuff is one of the things we'd like to do there too. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at this. So this was, people said if you pressed random, you would get placeholder art. Oh, but I don't have the art downloaded. So I need to download the art to do that. So I can't do that. I can't look at that right now, but I needed to actually download all the cauldron art, and it's a lot of files. So I'll get to that next time. Multiplayer support had what? Cards in box in multiplayer. I think that is. Oh wait, that probably has to do some like checking to see based on like the stuff that's in the game. Could look at that now because I would like to get this stuff shipped out today if we can. So, well, not today, maybe not today, but this weekend or something. So on the multiplayer list, where were we here? Allow cards in box multiplayer. So I think like it's technically allowed in this function, but it needs to restrict it to... We have this mod versions. Do we actually... Is it doing it? We just maybe didn't test it. Get available variants definitions per deck. So it seems like this is okay. And we're using it here for the allowed decks, and we're using it here for the available variant definitions. So did I do this? But then it wasn't all working, so I wanted to final verification probably. We call get allowed mods, which checks the version. Yeah, so I think that should be working. We still need an updated image. I'll check with Jennifer for that. I think I just have my this. And maybe I'll just ping Jennifer here and see if she can make that graphic. I'm just gonna send her what I'm talking about. Multiplayer. Just gonna see if there's like Steam Workshop branding guidelines. Welcome to use Steam Workshop branding when promoting your workshop. Sure. Yeah. So Jennifer will make a graphic that looks nicer than my graphic. Okay. So that's good. Then was another item here that said after reloading mods, any already selected decks do not go where they're supposed to be. Oh, right. That was an issue. Was when you went in without the mod and then you pressed reload, it wouldn't work right. But I'm not worried about that for initial, like alpha, not even alpha level version. I do want to make sure the cards in the box thing works right. So let's make a local build here. And see. So what else is going on in the Slack? Building, and what else we got? So there's a lot of little things, not a lot, but a few little things. We can look at that screen. Actually, I want to talk to Jennifer about making that screen look better. That actually doesn't like show properly, so maybe I can look a little bit at that just because it doesn't scroll properly. And then I know this one is one that people want a lot, where it'll be just like yes or no, or select a card. It doesn't have the way to actually specify everything. There's Nemesis icon. That's another notable thing. Let's get the mods here to be the same. I think we want to put this in here. And on my other one, just those two. Let's just have the same mods and not worry about them being different. Just mute this in case it wants to play music. There's an issue with the isRstring method when you set a not specific card or specific card and any other criteria which would make the condition plural. Okay. If you can provide like a better example or an actual example on the Discord, I can take a look, but that's pretty abstract. Okay, so let's run here, make sure we have the same mods. I was gonna have a better place for the main menu button too, right? That was a thing. I can do that maybe. I think that was like at the end of the stream last time. I was like, well, we should make this be better. These are the same versions of things. Okay. Yeah, the scrolling doesn't work on the build, but it does in the editor. That's weird. Like, it's obviously cutting off or something here, right? Like it's not going to, it's going off the end of the screen instead of, so that's really weird that it's, I can see it in the editor, but then in this I can't. Like that isn't, yeah, so there's something funny going on there. That's really weird. Okay, let's go to multiplayer. I'll start the game, I think, from here and go new game. We're going to, no, it's not even a private game. Look at that. Somehow it remembered my settings. I want to be completionist, guys. We want, I mean, Tribunal might not play the right card. That's the risk you take. We'll take that, and we'll take a mod hero, and we'll take that cricket as well. And we'll take bunker. Just for the different cases that we've got. Where are my errors? Oh, that was because my save game had Ruduin's mod in it, and it was like, fail. Make a card for main menu mods button. And it's going to say workshop, right? So it's got to fit that. I guess we need to start the game on both the sides here. All right, we can not play a card. Choose this. It chose the right thing. Use the power. Do 40 damage or whatever. I never noticed that Raptorbot has glasses too. That's cute. All right, so that is working in multiplayer. I guess the thing was to make sure that if the person joining had more mods, they shouldn't see those, right? So okay, so let's. I think there's actually one thing to check here. So if here I have Ruduin mod, but the other player hosts, or is the team leader. So let's make a multiplayer game, new game. We've got mods. So we've only got Wayward Bunker, whereas the other one has more mods available. Multiplayer. Join this. So I shouldn't be able to pick the Ruduin variants, which I'm not, so that's good. But if I bring, I know Ruduin has like different variants of core heroes. Oh, we need completionist guys to be first. And then some environment. Basically, I need to make sure that when I choose completionist guys, I'm not allowed to pick the variants. We're not allowed to pick the variants that are over here. That's the important thing. The extra variants that are not in the game. Devious. All right, so here, if I choose bunker, I get these choices, and this, like, if it was allowing the Ruduin mods, then this screen would show all of those too, but they're not because it is respecting those mod versions, so excellent. That is the goal. I think I just never actually tested that because things weren't working right. Cool. So then there's this in the new game screen. Game setup bug. That's not a huge deal. I'm okay to ship this without that because, like, I think, what does that even dialogue look like? It's still pretty rough, right? Mod download panel. Yeah. Publish. Set up game. Mod download panel. It's fine for now, but it's obviously not great. And eventually that will be, yeah, I'll add Steam Workshop multiplayer mod download integration. Or how about that thing is actually there, archive. Yeah, that's what that is. Okay, so this, yeah, I'm putting that back because I think that's basically good to go right now. The main menu button. Yeah, let's look at the main menu button because it's kind of interesting. Because I want to have that button. I think we decided to have it at the very bottom last time. Should go back and watch what I was doing. I think having it down here, and we call it Workshop. So options button is connected to the help button. The credits button is connected to the multiverse button. And the options button. The buttons are all like connected to each other and like for their layout. So this can be connected to the options buttons right side. And the left, yeah, actually it should be connected to the sure multiverse button. If you put like 10 or 50 or whatever, we can make it go over more. It's like 70. We'll play around with this. So then the options button should be centered, I think. So we want the target to actually be based on the Get Expansion Packs button. And we want to be based on the center and to be, how wide did this one end up being? Credits. Right, it's like 70. So if we do like 35 and minus 35, maybe it's 70 and 70. No, it's not that big. I don't know how the math is working out in the other one. Oh, I see. So if this goes off the, if they both go off the targets, right. So 129. Let's round it to 130. I like round numbers even though it's not always. And it looks like that. And then the mods button, we can call it Workshop button. Make it easier. Is going to hook from the help button. And maybe, yeah, so the left is at 0, the right is at 130. We can make this advanced, and And say it hooks off to the options for the top and bottom. Whoa. Hang on. There. Oh, and this should be from the left as well. And let's get the colors from the other button. Purple. Purple color. Workshop, options, credits. So of course I'm doing this and it's like, I want this to not be that way on phone though, or on iPad, because we're not gonna have a workshop. So what we could do for that is something else. A big message. In the Cauldron mod, we routinely have status effects that need to apply to all environment targets. For example, with Gyrosaurs and Mary Chase, we create an immune effect to the target criteria of Isherwood equals true. And I don't know what Isherwood means. Is not specific card Gyrosaur. Expected message should be all hero targets is hero. Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, in the Twitch chat here is not going to be easy for me to deal with. So if you want to write it up, and if you have like a GitHub issue or something that you can link to, and put it in the Discord, and we can add it to the Trello board maybe. Something specific like that. Cool. And yeah, one thing I want to do, you know, as we get closer to being ready to go is have more like direct, like let's look at any issues that anyone's having with their mods and stuff and work on those. But not quite there yet, but almost. So maybe we'll look at next week doing something like that. I can collect up some of those sorts of things and we can go over them. Cool. So for this button, kind of want these labels to have a more specific font size. What font size is this becoming? 28. 28. Yeah, make the font size more consistent. Fix that up on the smaller buttons. And then these can be like 26. Yeah, so probably what I'll just do is make duplicate buttons that only show up on mobile or whatnot. So let's save this, and then I'm just going to, yeah. These have an analytics as well. Jennifer's gonna make me a graphic. Cool. So yeah, so what I'm just gonna do is duplicate these. I'm gonna make an empty game object here. Don't want that. Bottom row or standalone. And put these in. And then bottom row. Mobile. So then we can add this handy thing we have. It's called Hide Object Helper. Hide it on iOS and Android. On mobile. Hide Object Helper. Hide it on standalone. And then, of course, I should have like just put these. We actually don't want the workshop button at all. We want these to be like hooked up again to where they were. So yeah, so the options button keys off the help button. 0, 0. The font size can go back up to 28. And credits button keys off of the multiverse button from the left and the right. And we'll increase our font size. Cool. So both of these will be visible here in development, and it looks really horrible. But as soon as it runs, this script hide object helper will hide things that don't belong, basically. So when we actually press play, we only see the buttons that we want. I might actually make those buttons slightly, well, they're pretty close. They could be, because they're in a darker area, I want them to be like 1 pixel closer to each other. Maybe they do need to be 1 pixel closer to each other. So we make this like 131. And make the credits button. Oh, this is the options button. I think we leave the options button the way it is. We make the credits button also one bigger. That seems good. Let's make it big and see. Workshop options credits. That seems good. Okay. Topher says, you're backroom chatting about Oblivion hero interaction quotes. Is there any way a mod could give Oblivion unique quotes for mod heroes? That is a good question. I can add it to the list, but I don't think it's going to be a priority right now. Let's just add it here. There's all the Oblivion stuff I just moved back here anyways, because I really haven't seen anyone like talking about, hey, I want to make a Scion or I want to make a mission or whatever. So these are pushed off into post MVP time. So I think, yeah. And also like, that's also a question of like, should we allow people to put words into Oblivion's mouth? I don't know. I don't know if Christopher would be comfortable with that. So consider supporting Oblivion unique quotes. I mean, it could be something like he says like, "What are you?" right? Like, or there's like not a specific quote for each hero, but like a quote for all mods that are like, "You don't belong here" or something like that. He might like that. Okay, the mods button done. Yeah, exactly. So he does have a default quote, which we put in just in case a hero isn't listed, which we could obviously just use for mods because every hero in the game does have a specific quote. So that is available potentially as a spot. Or I guess you just could consider that to be what it is. Yeah, okay. So, there's this screen. Let's make this screen better. It's kind of gross. There'll be some proper visual polish for it. So one thing I want to know is why does it not show up right? What is the default quote? I mean, you could just start an Oblivion game with a mod and see, but it is "The end has come" is the opening default line. So, and that's why "the end has come," and then he's like, "Let's play a card game" is pretty funny. Or here's a card trick. Okay, so yeah, I mean the screen is meant to be ugly right now, or not pretty necessarily, but I would like it to be more functional. So the scrolling is working here, but it's not. That's the weirdest thing. It's not in the built player. Of course, we don't know if we need this list here, if you can actually go into this. Maybe. That's another consideration too. Yeah, I just haven't really thought about this screen. So what is going on with this that's making it render wrong? This is just using pretty standard stuff here. The bottom panel is in a layout group. The scroll view is content size fitting. I wonder if it's a weird combination between using a vertical layout group here. Like this doesn't have, it's only literally 2 panels, doesn't have to be a vertical layout group, right? Like there's not really a huge need for that. You just like get rid of that and say the top, because there's only literally 2 things. It's not a big deal. So make this fit like in the top. Make it like 320. And then the bottom panel is the rest. I wonder if that sorts it. Because it seems fine in the editor, but then in the build player, it's not. So yeah, that, I mean, it's not awesome, but it's fine. And I don't like where this button is and how it looks. Let's build and see if that sorts out that problem. Just basically looking for a few things to tidy up before we ship this out. So Sentinels of the multiverse. Oh, that didn't go where I guess this expands with aspect ratio, so I need to like fix those. Hey, look. It scrolls right now. Okay, that's working better. Maybe it's not like ideal. But it's better. Okay. Let's go back to the main menu and fix those anchors because those obviously are not. One thing you can do is just be like, okay, that's 4x3. What about 6x9? Aha. Okay. So let's go to our buttons. Let's just hide the mobile ones for now. So, right. So I think what I want is for, let's just put these in the right order because that bothers me. This needs to key off of the right-hand side of the help button so it stays with it. This needs to key off of the how to play button as well. Or just, they could just key off the workshop button actually. Both of them. So if we go, mainly keys off the workshop button, I think. And says it's the same distance from that, and or should it be, yeah, it should be from these two. I mean, the vertical size of it can be based on that. The left and right can be based on the how to play. And the target's right. And from the feedback button, the target's left. So it's like keying off of those two buttons. Then the credits button. The height is keying off the options button. And the left should key off the left of. Just make this the feedback button because it's right above it. Right, that makes more sense. And that's off the left of that. Okay, I think. So then if we change the aspect ratio, that one stays little. I don't want that to be little. I want them to. What if we change this, instead of going up the right, we go up to the center? And same thing for this one. And the options is going to have to go also from the center. And then when we go wide, oh, I think I did something a little wrong there. The credits right should not go from the center. The left should go from the center. The right should stick to the right. That should be set. Cool. So that ends up making the options button a little bit too big. But it's not that much more big. It's interesting. I'm wondering if there's anything I can do to tweak that. The anchor system in NGUI is kind of interesting. It's really powerful, but also sneaky. So these buttons, give me my other, like this. The top button's achievements button here says, yeah, this stays in the center and that grows. The buttons can grow wider, I guess, is the idea. That looks honestly okay, I think, in 16 by 9. It's like slightly off. It sort of all has to do with proportions that it begins with in 4 by 3. But let's go with that for now. And then on mobile, these should still work. Yeah, okay. Okay. Good. All right. I didn't even commit that yet anyways, so didn't commit anything yet. Fix, yeah, this is basically fix, make mod heroes work properly in OA mode. This is change layout of or include workshop button in main menu layout properly. All right, and we're still gonna work on this mod list screen a little bit, I think. So this goes wide. This part I don't want to get wider. It's part of a horizontal layout. No, it's just part of a... This is just scaling it because of this. I think I want expand mode. Do I? I mean, that's not a huge deal. In the detail panel, there's this gap. Oh, because this has like a gap. Make that not have as much of a gap, or even any gap. I think it had a heading, a fixed heading before. That's why that was like that. Yeah, and then this right panel has a vertical group that keeps this button around. This font is so small. That at least tidies up the screen a little bit. It's not ideal. I would like, actually, when we first come up, I think that might be on the card, actually. Yeah, show instructions on how to install mod when it first appears. The detail panel is just totally hidden, so we can actually add something there. This title is pretty awful. Just sort of meant to be. So if I grab another one of these, let's add an instructions. This can go there. I guess basically in the same spot as the detail panel as that. And maybe we'll just actually make a panel. this will be just like how to install mods. So we have some text I can copy and paste here. I guess we can write mod support is in development and Steam Workshop integration will be added to the game in the future. For now, you can install mods. Yeah. That seems fine. I'm just going to add visit the Trello board above to see development status. And then this is actually not going to be at the tippy top. Maybe I'll put it right up in the corner here, so this can still be at the top. I'll give it a little bit more spacing. Cool. All right, so that is just adding some instructions for the first time. Come into this screen with no mods. Let's add a button. Trello button to the top right. So I'll set this 10. And we'll say Trello board. Cool. And I think we have a URL button that we can link the Trello board right in here. And could give it a color. It's fine. Let's see how this works. Yeah, so you can this still appears until you click on one. Oh, but then you see all that in the background. We need this detail panel to be not transparent. Mm-hmm. Oh, because this label is actually on top, so that's what's going on. There. Message from Jennifer. Some ideas. think I like the logo here, but maybe with the word workshop. See what comes from that. This prefab here is the label's touching the edge, I think. Yeah. We don't want that. All right, of course Jennifer is going to like make this look good. But it has the information on here in a really ugly way. We don't have this image loading, and we can access the Trello board if I click this. Maybe, I think I need to hook the button up. Because I think this only works on NGUI buttons. What if is there another SA open URL and click? Let's try that. Where does this one come from? I don't know. What if I hook it up to myself? Nope. Okay. Where is this script even from? Stan's assets. Well, let's use our own. This one we made. Let's just edit the script in. Yeah, I can just make this public, and it will be accessible. That's our URL. We want it to open externally. Now we should be able to hook up our click handler. OnClick is like a special NGUI method that it will call if it gets clicked, but that's not going to work in the Unity UI, which this screen is using. Hey, look, it opens the page I'm already on. Perfect. All right. So I think this information is enough to say like, hey, here's how you install mods for alpha, and that will just go away when Steamworks. I mean, for me, the goal is that this screen will also allow you to install mods from Steam Workshop and not only look at the mods you have installed. So for now, I think that is pretty okay. Let's do a quick build and look at how this looks. Just gonna get some more water. I'll be right back. at that screen now in the build player. Yeah, workshop. Looks a lot better. The fonts look much better in the build player than in the editor for some reason. So I can click Trello board and go visit that. We got our information here, and we can click on mods to look at them and scroll. Oh, it doesn't reset the scrolling between mods. It should do that. That's should be easy to do. Yeah, let's just do that. So we go to, maybe I'll just commit this stuff. Show instructions on mod list screen. Adjust layout a bit. So we did that. It's not a scrolling list yet. I wanted to go to mod list view controller, mod view. When we configure, if we have a scroll view, I want to like reset the scroll view. Position. Yeah. Probably something like that. Might have to be 1, not 0. Let's scroll down a little, and I go back here. It's not. I think it might be staying at the bottom. Go to the top. Scroll down and click another one. And stay at the bottom. Unity UI reset scroll. Correct. LOL. Vertical normalized position. Okay. Zero and 1, 0 being at the bottom. Seems like that should have been just what I did. Oh, I haven't actually set the properties, so it's not even doing anything. That would be why. It's like I have a null check there, and I didn't assign the property. So clearly, there's a reason why it's not doing anything. Getting towards the end of the day, isn't it? All right, go there. Hey, we're at the top. Scroll down. No scrolling. Go here. At the top. We're at the top. I'm into it. Cool. Okay. So that is just a little nice thing. Reset. Detail scroll view between mods. Right, enabling and disabling mods, that's a thing we could do. I don't know if that's like a thing people want. Showing errors is nice. Visual polish, scrolling list. Okay, those are like fine, but I'm not gonna. I think like I don't need to do them today or anything. More testing, cleanup, documentation, numerals and things. This is one I wanna. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish this one today, but I want to start looking at it because I think it's something that has come up a lot, like especially with Seamus, like play testing mods on stream and stuff. There's all these things that pop up like yes or no, or they don't specify exactly what the decision is about. Oh, a message from Jennifer. Yeah, that one looks pretty good. Button number 7. I don't know if it's in here. Yeah. That looks nice to me. Let's try it out in the game. And I don't know if I can just download this version and use it. Looks like it's there's one you can replace. That's placeholder. Okay, so Jennifer's gonna try it out and we'll see. So this whole thing about being able to show a decision is fairly complex, but we can probably get a start on it today, or at least like explain the scope of what's going on with it. So what happens is the engine has a decision and it sends a decision object to the UI, and the UI has a decision presentation object that can basically take in a decision and decide how is that presented, right? What kind of, do we show that like with click and drag? Do we show it with a dialogue? Do we pop up a yes, no? Do we show, there's like 4 or 5 different ways we can show, present a decision. And this class like controls all of that. And it's fairly complicated. But so what it does is, so if we look for like yes, no decision, if it's a yes or no, yes, no decision, we show our yes, no decision dialogue. That is if there's a hero attached to it. If there's no hero attached to it, we show it as, like if we can show like a hero picture with like yes and no with the speech bubbles, we do that. If not, we show it as a list of buttons. It's pretty rare for this to happen, but it can happen. Non-hero related yes-no decisions. We look up for the card title. That's fine. And so on. So basically, each type of decision, you can see here, we have a big switch statement of the selection type. Selection type is a pretty giant enum that is all the different kinds of things that can be decided in Sentinels. In Sentinels that exists for the official content, right? But obviously, mods are going to have new things that don't exist. But enums are not a thing that can be extended. It's not a thing that we can like add more to the list for everything that anyone might want to use. That's not tenable. So what we want to do is have a way for you as a mod developer to pass your strings through. So it's doing it this way because, you know, at some point we were thinking we'd want to translate the game, and having it come through the engine this way is easier for translation because all that sort of would happen in one place as opposed to being throughout the code in the engine. And so you can see if it's a crocodile effect, we have a question, which is the string that gets shown to the player generally. Then we also have a text for voting players, which is, if you're in multiplayer, what do other people see? So maybe a simpler one that doesn't have as much formatting. Right, so discarding a card. So in certain situations for discarding a card, we would say, do all players agree to discard a card, or do all players agree to discard the amount of cards there are? If it's a single card, do you want to discard a card? For in multiplayer, should that hero discard a card? Versus, if there is an amount, do you want to discard a certain amount of cards, or should that player discard cards? And then repeat phrase is used for the repeated decision functionality. When you click and hold, then you can go to the effects list and see that. So if we go to maybe game view and just like continue the game from where we were, and we can see some examples. Continue game. No reference because I didn't have the right mods. Okay, we'll just not continue. It's fine. Why is my screen being cut off? That's why. So if I do something here like this, and I use the power and I remember it all game, which isn't a thing that makes sense, but it's still going to show up in the list here. And that little string use a power comes from here, use a power. Repeat phrase. So this is choosing a card. So select sequence is like the first, the second, the third, the fourth player to use a power. So you can see there's a lot of a lot of different dialogue that's involved with all of this thing. Including the repeat, basically there's the basic question, there's other heroes, there's voting heroes, and there's like other heroes is when you don't get to vote, but you're waiting for them to choose. And voting is when they are like you're voting for it to happen because they're AFK. Or not AFK, but if it's like a group decision. And the repeat phrase is used for repeating decisions, which shows up here. But even if we go back to this text here, select which power to use is from here. And actually, this is where the repeated decision text is from in this case. So there's just a lot of different logic that goes into this stuff, which is why it's not a super easy thing to just say that. So what we end up using out of all this logic to see is many lines of different situations. We set some properties basically, right? We set we have address, we have question, title. The question is like the main text that gets displayed there. And you can see here is where it's all being set. And my computer is like freaking out about it. And it's used by the actual other dialogues. Come on, scrolling. Right, like the yes/no dialogue just shows the question. If we're voting for an AFK player, we use that. We don't actually use the other text in yes/no decisions. I'm sure there's a reason for that. And is that right? So there's two separate bits: the address and the question. Sometimes the address is going to be like the hero's name, and then the title is going to be the actual text. Right, so the yes/no one doesn't use the address because the hero's on the screen, right? So it doesn't need to say, like, guys, do you want to do this? Because it's directly, guys is directly there, so we don't need to mention guys' name. But if it's in the other dialogues, we do show, like, guys use a power, for example. So the decision dialogue is the vertical list of buttons that you see in the game, and that uses the presentation title. But if it's a unilateral decision for another player, uses text for other players. If we should use the voting title, we use text for voting players. And the decision list is the same thing, actually. Where's the decision window? What does that use? Does it use address directly? Oh, I guess, right. So this is actually in the base class. So it's that's used in common now. It wasn't always. The update title label wasn't always that way, but it is used. Yeah, there's auto decide button, skip button. Might have different text. Yeah, so there's a lot that gets driven by the decision presentation. As you can see, how the buttons look and what are the button titles. It tries to figure them out depending on the selection type. So one thing I need to think about is what's sort of the easiest way that we can get that information from mod decisions in a way that still works well, right? So the decision class or interface that we get is iDecision. And so I think what we would need to do is add, so we have selection type, which is the main thing we were talking about, but we will need to add like more strings here. So a string for the main question, for multiplayer voting, for multiplayer unilateral. Those are probably the main things. They might need to be like string format. So you can do like the first card, the second card, the third card, and so on. But each type of decision uses them in a different way, is part of it. So that's one of the, I guess if we make it, we might just sort of start with it simply and see what we want to, if we want to add more string format support to it and stuff. Or just say, these are the things that are going to be available as part of the string format. That could be a thing. I don't know what it's something I might want to like talk to people about and see like what are the main. I know like the yes/no decision is like a big one because yes or no is not really a really useful pop-up when you don't know what it's about. Whereas like select a card is not as bad, but it's not great, but it's not as bad, I think. It's still something you want to be able to support. So let's go and look at where these decisions get made and what's the scope of making a change like this. Like say even we just wanted to go and add on iDecision we want to add a new variable in here, right, called question string or something like that. This has to be each property has to be implemented by every kind of decision. So there's that. So for example, this one like automatically has a selection type, but I guess there's a base decision class. So this decision base class could have an empty string and then make it virtual, and then other decisions could override it. So that's not so bad. But any decision that does want to use it is going to have to include that in their constructor. And all the things that cause decisions will have to have ways to send that information down. So if we look at like someone that does a yes/no decision, make unanimous decision. So say like improbable grapple. If this wasn't discard a card, it was like something weird that the game doesn't support. We would need to be able to pass down some sort, probably like a selection type that's like selection type.custom, and then also additional parameters to this function of the strings that should go with whatever. Maybe it's an object instead of multiple strings or something like that. Just to keep it as one new property instead of several. And just like a little bundle of strings or whatever. And then basically anything, that ends up calling a decision would need to pass that in. An alternative way to do it instead of adding like tons of parameters would be that any card source, so card source is basically an object that has a card that's a source of an action, but also has like a bunch of other associated stuff that can be useful for the engine. So we could have the card source or card basically be a way for the UI to say, okay, like this decision has a card source, what is the text I should show for this decision? And then your card has to say, this is what the text is. That might be nicer, having that sort of callback mechanism. iDecision, comes with a card source? Because I really don't want to have to like edit like literally over 100 methods to add a parameter. That would have to be done. It would have to be many, many, many methods and passing down through quite a bit. Just got a message from Jennifer. Just got a message from Shamrock as well. Okay. So I think that idea of being able to ask your card controller or turn taker controller through the card source. What is the text that you should be showing? So I'm going to note down these ideas. And I'm going to bring them to Jean-Marc and David and make sure that makes sense. Add new selection type dot custom. If this selection type is specified, the UI will call card source to get the strings it needs. These can be returned by overriding methods in your card controller or turn taker controller that are responsible for the decision. So the kind of strings, the strings we need. There's that title, e.g. select hero to use a power. The address is chosen automatically. There's, let's go back to our, let's just put actual examples. Right, so use a power. Here, this is a good one. A lot of these are using like the phrase thing where they build a phrase. Question. Yeah, let me just pop the properties. Text for voting players. Text for other players, I think. When is this text for other players used directly? Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. Yeah, so let's just pop in some of these as an example. For other, oh, that was the text for other players. Text for voting players is more active. Text for other players is shown to other players in multiplayer when you are making a decision. Shown to the active player. And this is shown to other players in multiplayer when you are AFK or it's a group choice. The first, here to use the power. I'm just going to put these things in sort of brackets to show that they can be variables. And this ends up in here, vote for. Then we also have repeat phrase. Where does this end up? This is like used a lot and then ends up as part of something else. Repeated decision question text. Shown in the effects list when you okay. Depending on the decision and there can be different variables inserted in the string sequence. Yeah, maybe I'll just the first, second, etc. Hero name, who is making the decision, is /r. Grammar or plural heroes. Yeah, this is still, I think, rather for readability, would be like that. What else do we got? Let's look at all the like things that have sometimes it's like related card. We can have types of cards. Number of cards. We can have card source title. There's like the nth. Nth turn taker or card. second lowest, etc. A lot of it is the sequence or the hero name. There's the name of the effect. Activatable ability. Effect name. That's a word in here. Quantity of something. Just arbitrary quantity. Yes, no, number, decision. So yeah, there's a lot here. And part of it is that, like, being able to do everything means a lot of extra complicated bits. Yeah, Jennifer's made a nice graphic there, so we should be able to get that into this update. So as you can see, just like looking at this to figure out how to do it is a bit of time. So basically, like, TBD, should the card controller be able to return like a format string that gets populated, or does it have to be given enough information to format it itself? That's a good question. But yeah, I think it's these 4 strings that are the important ones. The address is literally always, I believe, just the hero name, or maybe like hero name, comma. And for some decisions, we just like leave it blank. We could expose that, I guess. Address, usually hero name, probably doesn't need to be exposed. Action hint text. This is for natural decisions, but I don't. This is for any action hints are for like tap your hero to use a power or whatever. Like those are things that don't pop up in dialogue, so I don't think those will need to be dealt with. Full card primary action is, yeah, I guess if you have other things that are like, you know, smoosh a card, then you would want them to be available there. So that's a thing. Text for the button to use to answer the decision from full card view. So there's that. There's skip text and auto decide text, which are almost always skip, stop dealing damage. Auto decide text is usually choose for me. Sometimes it's literally one other time it's choose random. So I'm gonna maybe less likely to need, but could still make Available to change. Skip text. Skip the button text. Auto decide text. Choose for me button text, basically. It's usually that. Button titles. This always is. I feel like that's not going to be a thing that needs to be a thing. Those are just generated automatically. I think if someone comes up and is like, I got this weird thing we need to do with buttons, maybe, but I don't see it. Repeated decision. I'm just looking for all the things that are string here. And I think, yeah, action, hit, and text we're not going to need. I hope. Maybe. It's not at the end of the world if that's a thing. Yeah, text for other players, text for voting players we covered. Repeated decision question text. That was this, right? Okay. But there was also repeated decision answer text, which is just, I think that one we won't need to change. Subdecisions are basically just from the box. There's nothing else that has subdecisions, and so that's not a thing. I thought there was one more thing, but I guess not. I guess that covers everything. So yeah, there's a few things to think about with this topic, and half an hour to figure out the scope of it. So yeah, I think that idea of having callbacks to basically, so if we go back to like an example, if you say this card does a weird decision, we override a method on card controller, which is like public string get decision text from an iDecision. And that's only going to be called if you've like passed in selection type.custom. You'll need to check like what kind of decision is it, because maybe you have more than one and you need to see like what one it's for, and then you can just return back whatever the string is, or format string or something like that, if that makes sense. And then the UI can just like directly probably call card source, and then card source would either call the card or the turn taker controller. If that's a thing here, actually, maybe not. Yeah, because there could be, there's not that many decisions from, are there decisions from turn taker controllers? I don't think so. Maybe there are. Just trying to think of like a turn taker controller that would have a decision coming from it. That's like always from card text. Turn taker controller stuff is like game setup primarily. And there's only really villain turn taker controllers generally. I mean, some of them don't even have turn taker controllers. Like Ambuscade does because of setup, like, but Akash Buddha doesn't even have a turn taker controller because it doesn't need one. Like Baron Blade literally plays a mobile defense platform. So yeah, there might need to be a way to check the turn taker controller, but they're just game setup stuff that's not interactive. I guess Legacy plays ongoings into play, but those ongoings are the ones that will ask for decisions like damage ordering and stuff, right? So I think that's literally just from the cards. And if it's something that, we'll just say it's overriding methods in your card taker controller. Yeah, so if we go back to like what kind of strings should the card be responsible for returning, if we look at what does the decision presentation do, it like gets a decision. What about Greaser with highest HP? Good question. Let's have a look. Greaser probably doesn't have a turn taker controller. It's probably just his character card, but I don't know. Maybe he does. I guess he does. Start game. Yeah, Living Paycheck is the one that decides what hero it goes next to. So Living Paycheck is just put into play, and then it decides where it goes. So Greaser's turn taker controller doesn't, it just plays it. So that's no problem. Bugbear, same thing. Oh, I guess actually here, this is calling find targets with lowest hit points, isn't it? If it's challenge. So that is a decision. So, oh, but it's actually it's using the character card as the card source. So it does still have to have a card source. So that card controller would be responsible for answering that callback to provide the information to the UI. So I think that's okay. So I think in any case there has to be a card. There has to be a card source. So that should be okay. And we could, if there is somehow no card source, that's probably just an error. So, so when we're actually going back to decision presentation, how do we decide like the sequence thing? Right, I guess, okay, so the select card decision has a sequence index. So all the logic about like the first card, the second, like all the stuff that has to do with string formats, I don't think we probably need to we don't need to support that, but it would be convenient, right? If like you were able to just like return back a string format like this, and it would get populated automatically or something, depending on the type of decision. So we might just sort of at first just build it without the string formatting, and then like make that an option or something like that. So you can like not have to do all that stuff yourself. You don't want to have to do that. That should be something the UI is doing it already, right? Then it can just do it. Just basically we document like this is the string format you should return for this type of decision, and it's going to populate in like whatever this variable is accordingly. Unfortunately, there's no string interpolation. That's not going to be supported because of the version of C#, but we at least say like 0 means this and 1 means that and 2 means that. So cool. So what I want to do is basically discuss with team, implement in engine, implement in UI. make example, basically. So yeah, so a pretty, that's definitely going to be a day's work at least. So we'll see maybe next week looking at that. But I think it's pretty important for usability of mods to be able to do this. So to make sure that we get that in, because you don't want to have yes or no all the time. It's just not a great experience. All right. So I don't know if Jennifer pushed that up. She did. Okay, let me grab that. And we can take a look at our new graphic. Okay. Oh, I don't know why I clicked play here. We want to go to the splash screen. Want to go to multiplayer, custom game, workshop. Look at that. Beautiful. So that is looking good. So yeah, I mean, we talked about workshop mods workshop, whatever, but like the branding of everything is going to be based on Steam Workshop, and so I figured we may as well make that look that way. That looks great. So good job, Jennifer. And we got the little workshop button down here. Maybe it will change, but that's good enough for now. And this screen is still special, but maybe I will turn Jennifer loose on that screen next week or something, and we'll get that tidied up. Cool. So I think that might be it for today. This mechanism here, I want to get to that. There's some documentation review. I'm going to finish up with Jean-Marc and get that released today. Yeah, there's this bug. I needed to download all the artwork to look at it, but we'll definitely get a new build put together with all this stuff. Not with this, but with the stuff I did today and have been doing the last little bit. So yeah, so basically that's going to mean that multiplayer support will be available for testing for your mods. So with the next little update that will get pushed out, as well as the last bits of all the Representative Earth and Oblivion and Completionist guys. So definitely check that out once that comes out, and let me know if you run into trouble. And that's exciting. So maybe you'll play some multiplayer with Seamus on stream or something. That could be fun. No more screen sharing required for that. Okay, so that is going to be it for today, I think. Thanks for tuning in. Always fun to have some activity in the chat. And as I said, like, I do want to get, like, as we're getting closer to having, like, everything be totally functional, start looking at more of these items. Like, people have been posting about any issues in the engine, or I'm having trouble with my mod doing this and stuff like that, so we can get things to be just right. But this is definitely a big part of it, as well as I know Nemesis icons are something people have talked about and other things. But yeah, we want to have a great launch, so we want to get things to a really good place before we get the Steam Workshop stuff finalized as well. So have a great weekend and stay safe out there. We will see you soon for more development and more streams. Have a good night.